All right, how's it going, guys? I wanted to talk about how socializing takes practice because a lot of you guys watching these videos are, more introverted. You maybe aren't as comfortable in social situations and interacting with people. That is normal, and it takes practice, is basically the main point of this video that I want to make. Um, a big part of the reason that extroverts feel way more comfortable around people and it seems to come naturally to them is because they're spending so much time interacting with people. They're on a frequent basis, they're, meeting up with people, they're talking to people. It just, it's a big part of their lives. And so naturally they get better at it. They're, in practice as opposed to out of practice, and they're able to much more easily just interact with people. So, as an introvert, obviously this is a little harder because your social battery is smaller. You aren't able to interact with people as much before you get kind of tired and just want to go home, do your own thing. But it's very possible to get the practice that you need in order to, improve your social skills and kind of get the ball rolling. So, what you want to do is, first of all, meet up with friends, often, as much as you can. I would say at least twice a week, you want to be like spending a good couple hours at least with a friend or an acquaintance, someone you know, and just, having a conversation. And it's going to feel like a grind at first if you haven't done this much in the past. If you've been spending the past, few months just kind of locked in your room playing video games or whatever, it's gonna feel like a bit of a grind because you're gonna be out of practice. You're gonna have kind of lost the calibration that comes with this frequent socializing. You're gonna have lost the calibration that you need to really like interact in a natural seeming way, if that makes sense. So hang out with someone you're comfortable with at least twice a week. It doesn't have to be the same person. You can meet up with different people, but I would say at least twice a week have, dedicated time where you're spending time with someone that you're comfortable with and just having a conversation. It's important that it's someone you're comfortable with because, it's not going to be like that initial getting to know you conversation for a whole 2-3 hours, which can feel a bit more, it takes a bit more energy to be doing that. So when you're with a friend that you feel comfortable with, it's kind of, it doesn't matter as much if you have these slip ups, you say something that's kind of odd or it comes out the wrong way. Um, they're still, they're still your friend. They're still gonna hang out there. Hopefully, they know you pretty well, so they know that's you might just think like that, or they probably know that you're more introverted and you're maybe not as social as a lot of other people. So it's gonna just lower the stakes for you and provide this like basically a training ground for you to have more and better social interactions. The second thing you want to do is talk to strangers as much as you can. So this is, sorry, I'm just hearing things upstairs. Um, this is something that extroverts do a lot, but not everybody does because, these days we're kind of buried in our phones. We don't think about interacting with strangers as much, but this is the greatest opportunity to just practice your surface level social skills. So if you're standing in line behind somebody at the coffee shop, obviously don't make it weird. If you're like just trying to start a conversation with someone in order to have a conversation with someone, it might come across a little weird, but if something funny happens in the shop, or if there's anything noteworthy, just talk about it to someone around you. So you're gonna have to be going out and leaving the house a bit more in order to do this. But just whoever's around you, you know, strike up conversations. If you're at the grocery store, talk to the cashier while they're, scanning your groceries. Matter of fact, go into a line where it's somebody scanning your groceries and not the self-checkout. So if you're more introverted, you're probably more likely to go to the self-checkout if you don't have a whole bunch of items. I know I tend to do this just by default. If I don't have a lot, I'm just gonna be like, oh, let me go through self-checkout. It's easier. I can do it all myself. Don't have to like really interact with anybody. That's kind of a reflex that we're gonna have. But if you can deliberately put yourself in situations to be talking to strangers, like at the grocery store, you just talk to the cashier, you just ask how their day's going, what's, just talk about whatever. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. As long as you keep the pressure low, you're not like, oh, how has your day been? And like, just don't give that air that you're like trying to practice social interactions, but just kind of ask it as if it's off rip. It's just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like you're passing the time basically by talking to someone. Or you can, if you're at the gym, like ask someone to spot you. Go to the gym alone and ask someone to spot you on like the bench press or squats or whatever, like some big lift. If you're doing a big lift, ask a stranger to spot you, and then that opens up, more of a space to have a conversation. You can just kind of shoot the shit for a little bit, get to know each other, and that's just a great way to not only practice your social skills, but meet more people, meet new people, figure out kind of how you like to interact with people. Do you prefer making jokes, or just do you not talk a lot? You just listen to what they say? Do you share personal anecdotes? It kind of gets you that practice to interact with people on a surface level, which is super important because even with your friends, sometimes it's gonna be kind of surface level. You might have more of that space to share kind of deep thoughts and have more serious conversations with your friends, but most of it is still gonna be kind of surface level. You're not gonna have the getting to know each other phase, but for the vast majority of your conversations, it's gonna be talking about, kind of whatever passes through the conversation, if that makes sense. So it's a great skill to practice, just interacting with strangers, having little odd conversations here and there. And you want to be doing this, I'd say at the very least, once a day, which means you have to leave your house at least once a day. That's also great practice. Like, you should not ever go an entire day without leaving your house and without talking to at least one other person, whether it's a friend or a stranger. You want to be talking to people every day. So make sure you're, having dedicated time to spend time with a friend or a loved one or just someone you like spending time with. Have dedicated time at least, I'd say, twice a week in order to just spend that time with the person you enjoy being around, practice conversation, get more comfortable with it, and then try and just go out every day, even and just talk to strangers, even if it's just the cashier at the grocery store, or someone spotting you at the gym, or just even like a stranger that you walk past in the street. Just have more of an open, friendly face. Just be like, hey, how's it going? You don't need to stop, you just wave, say, well, obviously depending on the situation, but you can like nod at someone, say hello, how's it going? And they're, it'll be a very short exchange, but you just keep it going. Try and have as many of those as possible. I try and hit like at least 3 a day of just talking to random people, and then at least once or twice a week hanging out with someone someone a friend. If you're like really in a focused season of life, maybe once a week is fine. But if you're really trying to practice these social skills, make it at least twice a week, if not 3 to 4 to 5 times a week, that you're going out and spending a significant amount of time with friends or people that just people that you're relatively comfortable being around. Because that's all of that put together, the interactions with strangers and with your friends or family, loved ones, whatever, that's going to basically calibrate your social interactions. So when you're by yourself for a long extended period of time, you start to feel kind of normal in your own little weird habits, like whatever it is you might do. Like I don't know, for example, for me, I like to, this isn't even that weird, but I don't know, like sometimes when I'm like just getting back into socializing, I'll like blurt out something that comes to my mind just because it popped into my head. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's like blah 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 blah." And as I interact more, I realize like, okay, this person was in the middle of saying something, everybody else was listening to them, like let me just let them finish what they were saying, and then maybe I can say what I was thinking. But it helps you just calibrate things little by little to where you see like your own like kind of impulsive thoughts, your own weird little habits that you're used to. So it doesn't feel weird when you do them by yourself, but when you're around people, you're going to start to see like how people react to what you say and how you say it and just how you're acting. And that really helps like calibrate to good social interactions. And yeah, just do that over time. After a few weeks of that, you're going to be flowing a lot smoother. You're going to be having much easier, more effortless conversations. So it just helps a lot. So yeah, have dedicated time every week that you're hanging out with people that you enjoy being around, that you're pretty comfortable with. And then also every day, if you can, talk to a stranger, talk to multiple strangers, just to kind of keep the ball rolling, keep your mind fresh and calibrated for social interactions. So I hope this has been helpful, guys. I appreciate you watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.